Welcome back to Link by Golf, the podcast made from the connections we find through the great game of golf. I'm your host Ross McGuire, and my guest in this episode is Luke Peterkin, PGA professional and one of the team behind Replay Golf. Luke shares the story behind one of the UK's fastest growing pre-owned golf businesses, from its early days in a small garden centre unit to becoming a destination for golfers looking to buy, sell, trade and get fitted for golf clubs. We discuss his journey through the PGA with time spent at Wentworth and Silvermere, the growth of replay golf, and why clubs like Seven Woods are currently flying off the shelves. Let's get over to Luke.
Morning, Ross. Yeah, thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
With the store that you've got 3 Trackman bays you've just installed for custom fitting on used clubs and sometimes new as well. So when you reflect on that, what's it been like over the last few years as you've grown the business with other guys in the team?
Yeah, it's crazy, really. Like when you think back to when we first moved in here in 2020, it was such a small square footage. I think we had maybe 1,000 square feet, if that. And we shared the building with a custom fit studio at the time. They had the bigger section of the shop, uh, and space was always hard to come by. Like the volume of equipment that was coming in, and it was always hard to get space to display it and store it. And then over the years, almost every year, we've pretty much had a big refurb. So yeah, October last year, we had the biggest one to date, where yeah, we've pretty much tripled our square footage now. And yeah, the installation of the 3 swing bays. I mean, yeah, if you would have asked me, would have had that in or 6 years time from here on in, then yeah, it would have been hard to picture or hard to see that. But yeah, we've done them really well. They're really smart. A lot of what we do here is trying to make it look and feel as premium as we can, but obviously being as welcoming as we can as well. Um, so yeah, we've done them well, and yeah, they look incredible.
Brilliant. So where did it all start for you, Luke? How did you get into the game and where are you from?
So born in Ascot, raised in Ascot. Started playing when I was 7 years old. My dad used to take me to Lavender Park, it's a little par three course in North Ascot. We used to go there about 6 in the morning, Monday to Friday. That was literally my routine before school. I'd like to think he was just trying to get me into golf to be as good as possible, but I think it was also because we avoided paying green fees pretty much 5 days a week because we got on there before the staff were there. So we might need to owe some in arrears if they hear this. Uh, and then, yeah, just loved it from there on in, really. Just grew up with loving like Cynic Faldo, Tiger in his heyday, 95 to 2005. Um, and then, yeah, just went through school wanting to be a pro all the time, just thinking about it. Did my A levels and then pretty much just got straight into it. Really got a full time job at a golf club. Started my PJ when I was 19, um, and then did my PJ at Windlesham Golf Club. So that was kind of where our path first crossed, me and the guys here, and um, that's kind of where my PJ journey started for sure as well. Really, so yeah, just been pretty much playing all my life.
And so were you trying to play initially as a PGA Pro, or were you always into coaching and other things in the game?
Yeah, it was very much the wanting to be a player for sure. That was the dream. Genuinely believed I could have done it. It was one of those, like, you think back on it now, was that just delusions of grandeur? But like, I genuinely believed I could have. But then there was a turning point where I finished my PGA, so finished my third year at Windlesham, had an opportunity to work at Wentworth. Um, but then I was also playing the best golf of my life. So it was a proper crossroads where I was 22 at the time. So I was like, do I continue, trying to play, which when you look back on it, or at least by today's standards, it's quite late at 22 trying to do it full time. Or then do you go into full time work at one of the best golf courses in the country? So I chose Wentworth. I mean, Wentworth had been a bit of a close home for me. Like my grandparents were members there, so we'd gone there a lot when I was a kid. So it was always quite special. So yeah, initially I wanted to play, but then yeah, that took a bit of a 90-degree turn really when Wentworth came around the corner.
And what was it like working in Wentworth?
Yeah, amazing. Like you're in a proper little bubble there. You're just cut off from the rest of the world. The standards there are so great. It's all about service, 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 looking after members as well as you could, and attention to detail. Just everything was as you may expect it to be. Um, it was a bit of a shell shock initially because I went from working, say, 15, 20 hours a week at Windlesham to suddenly doing 60 hours a week. So all of that playing and practicing time I had um, suddenly went out the window. So it was a shell shock in that sense, but I was one of the fitters in the TaylorMade Performance Lab there. So kind of opened that up with Adrian Rietveld, who's basically the main man on PJ Tour for TaylorMade. And that was
Right.
incredible. Like he's an amazing guy. I had so much respect for him. He's like to learn fitting, not only in those premises and in that environment, but with him as well. It was so good. Um, yeah, just that's where so I was coaching, but then fitting as well. But yeah, the fitting was amazing. I've always loved golf equipment. So I've always been quite nerdy in that sense. Um, so yeah, that was like heaven on earth for a long period of time for sure.
And what about the courses? I'd love you to talk about the courses. What's your favourite of the three?
Uh, I mean, the West is normally up there just because you know with all the history that's happened there, but um, the East is just quite nice for an easy. I say easy, it's not easy, but like an easy knock around, you know. So it's not too challenging. It feels like you could dominate it quite well. The West is just a slog, you know. Just every shot, it feels like you have to hit the perfect shot every single time. So it's tough in that sense. When you just want to have a bit more of a relaxed round of golf, the West is not one of those golf courses. So yeah, I'll probably say the East. A lot of people like the Edinburgh or the South, as it's otherwise known. Um, but yeah, I'd kind of like the East. It's a nice, good-looking course, challenging but just enjoyable.
Yeah, and the Edinburgh course is so tough, eh? What you need to be
Yeah,
maybe give your driver around there and you need to be hitting it pretty far. It's so long. It just plays so long, that golf course.
yeah, they're going through some changes as well as we speak. I think actually doing kind of redoing that golf course a hell of a lot. So it's supposed to be even better when that finishes soon. Yeah, all of them are great in their own right.
And so how long did you stay at Wentworth then? How long were you there?
So I was there between 2010 and 2017. So left in 2017, um, and then went on to Silvermere after that for a year. That was really cool. That was great to go from. So it was all about premium and customer service and everything you'd expect, like I say, from Wentworth. To then Silvermere was just volume, volume, volume. Of course, it's very much customer service based as well, for sure. But it was, I mean, how busy Silvermere was crazy. Um, it's a incredible venue again, like in terms of a retail store, fitting outlet. It's really good bunch of guys there. Um, so yeah, that was cool as well because it was just relentless all the time.
I think
Um,
it's the busiest range I've ever seen. It's incredible how busy a
mm,
place Silvermere is. Was it 48 bays or something? It's absolutely massive, isn't it?
yeah, and two-tiered as well. That was one of those, like, when you'd been in the bubble of Wentworth for 7 years and then going to especially when top tracer driving ranges were becoming more and more popular. I remember coming out of the fitting studios on a regular basis, you'd see families there with their children on the driving
Yeah.
range, and it was just something you never really saw for a long time. Um, so it's just great to see that type of technology working on a driving range and bringing families together, spending time with the kids, just messing around on a driving range compared to, say, your typical just a field with a few flags scattered in and around. And yeah, it was really nice. It was really cool.
And then how did Replay Golf come together? Was that straight after the experience at Silvermere that you got together with the other guys?
Well, no, so fun enough, we did. So yeah, Andy, Chris, and Ben. So Andy and Chris are brothers, and Ben. The four of us all used to work at Windlesham at that time. So we're between 2007, 2010. So Ben had been coaching there for about 20 years. Me, Andy, Chris, we all spent some time in the shop there. I mean, I don't know if you remember yourself, like Kim Shaw used to own a shop there. It was a really
No.
popular little pro shop. If you could
Okay.
imagine the number of golf clubs per square footage, that must have been the most well-stocked golf shop in the country. It was ridiculous. It was
Wow.
such a small shop, but it was just rammed with golf clubs. And we used to have it was very much that was the probably the catalyst of starting Replay. So, the shop got taken over there by Windlesham itself, so Kim no longer had that as his business. Um, I then moved to Wentworth, the boys were doing some bits and bobs there. Thing Ben was still coaching, the guys were still working. We did have a conversation around 2016, 2017, but it wasn't a good time for me to go into the business. I was married at the time. My wife was pregnant with our first, so it wasn't a good time to say leave a full-time career at Wentworth to then begin something that you know relatively was quite high risk in comparison. So the boys actually started it in about 2018.
Right.
Started at Longacres. So we had a little. It was essentially a shack at Longacres Garden Centre, just not far from Windlesham Golf Club. Um, and then yeah, so essentially started from there really. But yeah, Windlesham was very much the. We had people come into that shop and as soon as they'd step in, because you'd see so many golf clubs, everyone would just go, "Wow," or "Oh my god, this is amazing." Um, and so people used to buy and sell and trade in there, and so the boys were very much look. We've seen how successful and how popular that's been. It's not happening really, apart from Golf Bidder was the main one at the time that was in people's mouths. Um, so then, yeah, the boys started it not long afterwards.
Brilliant. And so when
Mm.
did you move down the road to the new facility? Because Long
So
Acres
yeah,
is the slightly bigger place up the road, right, in terms of the overall, I guess, garden centre that's there, but you've moved down the road slightly
yeah.
to where you are now.
Yeah, so that was in 20 so it was late 2019, so pretty much just as COVID had, pretty much finished up-ish, say 2020, uh, and yeah, that was essentially I mean, going from Long Acres to here as we started here, that was about double or triple the square footage, but it was still relatively small, but yeah, I mean, that's one of the great things that the boys have always done from day dot is always reinvested. So going from strength to strength is all because they're looking to go from strength to strength, you know. And um, funnily enough, my very first golf job was at Bird Hills when I was 17, and
Really?
it was the pro shop was before American Golf took over, and it was
Yeah.
a company called Club Golf. And it was actually a really, really good shop at the time. It was kind of like American Golf, but independent. So we used to sell all sorts of the manufacturers. It was really well stocked. It was great. But then after a good few months of being there, basically transpired that the owner of that company was putting all of the profits into a house being built for himself in Portugal. So eventually we were going on hold with manufacturers. So if you wanted to come in and buy, say, a set of Mizuno irons, and I needed to order them in, we couldn't because our accounts were on hold. Stock just went out the window. So before you knew it, it just collapsed. Um, so yeah, it's really nice to see then the guys just always reinvest the money from the business back into the business. So you moved here in 2019/2020, um, and yeah, we've been like we said earlier, we've been reinvesting ever since really, expansion to expansion.
So what was it like in the early days? So the facility is obviously smaller than it is today. What was it like in there in terms of the number of
Mm.
clubs versus the space you had and people coming in and stuff as well? What was it like?
Yeah, it was interesting. It was so for a lot of golf pros working in say your typical pro shop environment, there's a few things. There's certain clubs that just never seem to leave your shop floor, right? So there was always you do your pre-book with your manufacturers, and there'd be things like a 7 wood or a 9 wood that you just never stock. You'd be like, no, just give me a 10.5 regular, 9 degree stiff driver, couple of this, couple of that. So I remember the first few months starting, just seeing what golf clubs were selling. It wasn't so much of a shock in some ways because of like my time with Kim at Windlesham, because we were doing that as I say then. But going out of it to Wentworth to then come back to it to then see things like, God, people are still buying this or people are still buying that. And um, so, yeah, the stock that we would sell was always surprising. Um, the overall processes and procedures, I mean, they've evolved a lot. It's funny when you think back in terms of just how we used to do things. So we used to do everything. We used to do the admin side, picking up the phones, responding to emails, messages. We used to list the golf clubs, picture them. We did every single department that we have now, we all used to do. Um, so to now get to a point where we've got kind of self-running departments now, um, is both quite nice because then it means obviously we don't have to do that anymore. But and then it's also nice to see that we've come from A to B, you know?
Yeah, and you're all PGA qualified, right? So what do you think is the
Mm.
difference here with all you being PGA pros?
Yeah, well, it's massive really because and this is where it's really nice because we're all very much on the same page in the sense of I've always been, and the boys too, very much a case of we only want you to buy something from a golf club point of view if it genuinely is going to better your golf. We're not there to just sell you something for the sake of selling you something. And because we've all coached pretty much at one point or another, or for me, fitted, it's very much like we're in it for the long run, you know? So we're very much, we want to build the rapport, build up the relationships with every single person that comes through the door. Like that golf club environment, you know, when you're at your golf club, you walk into your pro shop and they go, "Oh, morning, Ross. Oh, I see you booked in for 8:10 today." And then you've got that kind of bit of camaraderie, bit of a conversation with the staff at the golf club. We very much want that here. So we try and get on a first name basis with pretty much everybody if we can and just build up that rapport and um, kind of bring those golf club standards and high standards to a retail environment. So yeah, we're all very much on the same page in delivering that customer service, which I think, yeah, very much stems from kind of our pro or playing and PJ backgrounds for sure.
Yeah, and one of the things I feel is quite unusual for you guys is you've got a 7-day trial policy as well. I'd love you to talk about your people
Mm,
coming into the store and having that experience of what, like you say, looking for something that's going to really actually help their game.
mm. Yeah, yeah. So again, if you think there was never really facilities to do that. So for a period of time, you'd go into a golf club and you could only buy new. You could only really buy secondhand, say either online from eBay, from people you didn't know. Um, so in terms of actually testing golf clubs, it's not easy, right? And because it's a minefield if you're coming into golf. Like after COVID, before I think PJ did a study where there's 2.5 million more new golfers playing golf now compared to before COVID in the UK. That is.
Wow,
So you've got so
2.5
many.
million. Is
Yeah,
that right? Wow.
yeah. Um, so all of these new golfers coming into the game, who are also a younger demographic as well, by the way. So then we have these conversations on a daily basis of how much of a minefield it can be when, especially like we display everything in the store as much as we can. So that feeling of how I was describing, you'd walk into Windlesham, into Kim's shop and see all of these golf clubs and be blown away. We want to create that same impression.
Thanks for listening to Link by Golf. I also co host a new podcast with Colin Gray called Both Sides of Par. Every episode explores the different sides of the game, from drills and practice habits to course strategy, mindset, equipment, and the realities golfers face at every handicap level. If you enjoy the conversations here, I think you'll really love this one too. Follow Both Sides of Par now on your favourite podcast platform so you don't miss the first episodes. Just search for Both Sides of Par or go to bothpar.com. Now let's get back to the pod.
The downside to that is that as a new golfer, if you don't know anything about golf, you're just greeted with all of these different golf clubs and you don't know where to start. Um, so the 7-day trial is just like a perfect way to like we'll do our best to advise you as much as we can in store, especially now with the bays, we can do our best to work with you in that sense. um, but the 7-day trial is just perfect because you can then obviously take it on your own golf course, your home territory, driving range, see ball flights, get a good feel for it for a decent period of time, and ultimately just return it in the same condition grade is all we ask for a full refund, or you can exchange it for something else. So it's just a really
Brilliant.
nice outlet to test it thoroughly.
Yeah, and in terms of the process, just going back a little bit, in terms of how you bring the stuff together, you mentioned that at the start it was you four guys who were doing, taking the pictures, doing the review of the club, getting it onto different platforms for sale. How's that
Mm.
changed and what's that like now in terms of a process?
Um, so the process itself hasn't changed too much. I mean, it's essentially quite a simple process, really. We just clean it thoroughly, make sure it's presentable, and away we go. But what has changed now is the working environment. So there's just much more space. It's much nicer environment compared to what we had before. Honestly, it was such a small room, but we were confined to what we had to work with. Um, so yeah, we have sectioned out stations for all of our listers now, so they've kind of got their own nice, comfortable working environment. Um, and yeah, it's the listing part is if you like a relatively stress-free job, you can just pick a batch of 5 to 10 golf clubs, get them all prepared, ready, picture them, list them, and then it's rinse, repeat. So it's relatively stress-free, and so you can come in, do your thing, go home, and it's quite nice in that sense. What was stressful before is having to do that. Phone would then go, you've got a customer coming through the door, and you're trying to then spin. We always used to say we were spinning so many plates all the time. So yeah, the guys can now just come in, do their thing, um, and yeah, go home afterwards.
And what do you find in terms of the people? So there's obviously, you sell a lot online, of course, through different
Mm.
platforms and your website. But what advantage do you think you get from having the store as well? Is there something there that provides you an advantage over other competitors and other places that folk could go?
I think so. One of the things we hear a lot. I mean, Golf Bidder have been around a long, long time, and their retail environment is a bit more like an Argos type style of environment in the sense you go in, you've got a limited showroom, and then you'd have to speak to somebody in order to see the golf clubs that you want to see. Um,
Right.
like we were saying, we display almost as much as we can out on the shop floor. We would much rather have everything there ready for you to just pick up. I mean, you know what it's like as a golfer, right? You pick up a golf club, the first thing you do, you grip it, you're putting it down, you're looking at it, giving it a waggle. Like we want to do that as golfers. We do that with everything. So having it there available, and again, some customers just like to be able to come in and do their thing and not maybe have a conversation with us every single time they do come in. So allowing it to be as accessible like that for people, I think is really nice. Um, Yeah, I mean, if you love golf, it's just nice to be surrounded by all of these different golf clubs that you could just spend half an hour to an hour looking around, and picking up.
And do you find many people coming in who've been on the website and they've found a club and they actually want to see it first before they buy it? Do you get that a lot?
Yeah, yeah, we get that a lot. So our website's updated Monday to Friday, all the time. We've got guys that come in who say they just refresh our website probably every 10, 15 minutes just because they want to see what's been recently listed. Um, and that's the fun part as well, right? Because we buy golf clubs up to about 15 years of age typically. We sometimes go beyond that depending on the item. But with what comes through the door, you have tour issue this, tour issue that. You've got golf clubs that maybe take you back 15 years that maybe you used to use when you were growing up. And so when you see that come online and then you're like, oh, yeah, I'll go and have a look at that, especially maybe you check out the condition grade and go, oh, that's 15 years, but it's in a B grade. That must be, it'd just be nice to look at that because you'd expect it to be in really poor condition maybe for that age of golf club. Um, so yeah, the fact that the website's updated regularly, that kind of keeps people on the edge of their seats. And we're reasonably accessible. We're not too far away from the M3, so it's fairly easy to get to. So we have a few customers who travel a decent length of time actually, which is really nice. Um, yeah, just because they want to get it in their hands and have a look at it.
So do you find there's that kind of nostalgia thing as well, where people do look back and think, "Oh, I used to play great with that club 10 years ago, and then I got rid of it for whatever reason." Or people come in saying, "I used to have one of these. I need to get this again."
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's and again, you probably know what it's like, right? We all have a golf club or golf clubs that you've kind of got that backlog of memories that you've gone, oh, geez, to hit that so well, or you just used to feel really good with that. And yeah, that happens a lot. And even we're like it when it comes through over the counter. If we're quoting something or we see something come through, um, yeah, if you love your golf equipment in particular, there's always something that comes through that gets you on all excited again. Absolutely.
Brilliant. And then you've changed the game as well. Look, I mean, in terms of used clubs, that invariably in the past people would not really get the chance to use them unless they're in like a shop, as you mentioned, the
Mm,
local golf club. But you've now got these three fitting bays. So I'd love you to talk about what you're seeing with custom fitting for used. And of course, you sell brand new clubs as well. But what you
yeah.
seeing that in terms of making a difference? How's that go?
Yeah, it's gone down really well. I mean, we were always asked about it before we installed them. Everyone used to come and go, "Oh, you should get some bays in and stuff like that." And it's always something that we've always talked about, but it's doing it right, because putting a net in or just something in, there's more to it than that, right? Like in terms of managing all of the stock that maybe, say if you came in and you wanted to try 3 drivers, and then let's say we had a net that was completely unmanned, like how do you police the fact that you've got those 3 clubs now off the shop floor? Do they need to be taken offline because what if one of them sells online while you're trying them? Or are the stickers or barcodes that we've got on them now, are they scuffed up? Do they need replacing? So there's all of these different processes that need to be thought about before just simply putting in a swing bay, right? So um, doing it to the extent we've done it, sorry, with the Trackman IOs, almost having it as a couple of separate entrances as well, um, just means that we can manage these processes better. In terms of how they've gone down really positively. I mean, it gives people that opportunity to obviously try something before they actually commit to buying. They can actually see some data, get a feel for it, and just maybe cross that hurdle that maybe was there before, basically. I mean, we would speak to a lot of people on the shop floor and build bags. That's been a really popular service that we do. So let's say for those new golfers that we mentioned coming into the game, they just maybe want to build a bag that can get them around a golf course. Doesn't need to be full of 14 clubs in the bag, but just enough to get them around. We do a lot of that. So we offer what we call express fits now. So essentially we can fit you for pre-owned. So we're taking what that conversation we used to have on the shop floor, we can basically have that in the swing bays, get you hitting something. And, as long as the specification is there or thereabouts, then again, that can just help validate that actually, yeah, what you've got here, what we've built here is going to get you off and running for hopefully a good period of time.
And what are the kind of common things that you see from people coming in that you might have wrong? What kind of things do people typically get wrong? Because a lot of
Yeah.
folks just buy stuff straight off the shelf. What kind of things do you see that people don't get right for their game?
Yeah. So I always say, so buying off the shelf, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It just means that you have to be either very lucky to pick something off the shelf that does work pretty optimally for you. Otherwise, it's just going to take you a few more purchases off the shelf to get there and fine tune it. Because there's so much information out there that's accessible to everybody. Say if you type into Google, how do I know if I need a stiff flex shaft or something like that? And then you get all of this information that comes up and goes, well, if you swing at this speed, blah, 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 blah. Um, that's definitely a conversation we have a lot. Is I feel like a lot of new golfers go a bit too stiff too soon as far as shaft flex goes. They just think because I swing it fast, I must have a stiff or I must have an extra stiff. So they don't think about maybe striking tendencies or patterns. They don't think about the delivery, and it's not their fault. It's just because maybe they're not to know that. If you've just been playing maybe 6 months, not even that, you're not going to know the ins and outs of if a stiff flex shaft should complement what you do or not. Um, yeah, shaft flex is a big one. Typically going into iron heads that are harder to use um, than what would probably be better for you. It's that classic kind of, something looks good and feels good when they do hit it well, but it's thinking about the bigger picture, right? The 10, 20 shots that you're actually going to hit, not just that one magic one that's just worked and um, fully committing to that iron set. Um, so yeah, it's hard. So I get it from a customer point of view because there's lots of information out there. There's lots of different options. So to try and put those two together uninformed is quite tough.
Yeah, and I'd love you to talk about the options you've got. Look, in terms of the equipment that's available, just at a high
Yeah.
level. I mean, what kind of levels of stock do you have for like shafts for drivers, the drivers themselves, and iron sets? What kind of stock have you got in the shop available for people to come and try?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully as thorough as we can make it. So we've got so much, X number of clubs come in a week, and there's only so many we can list, so there's always more clubs to go on to the shop floor. We stock all of the main manufacturers, so you've got Titleist, Callaway, Ping, TaylorMade as like our four main ones, if you like, in terms of our new stock. We do Schuster and Mizuno as well, so all of your major ones. And then as far as used equipment goes, yeah, we very much go into all sorts of other brands as well. So Tacoma was one that we actually just started taking relatively recently. That's an interesting one. Um, but yeah, it's one of those where obviously the more choice we have, then hopefully the more options. It's a bit kind of maybe contradictory to what we were just saying, but we're kind of introducing more options to golfers. But ultimately, there's more options out there for a reason. You've got companies like Tacoma and all of these other brands coming out now, which people want to test. So if we can at least have them pre-owned, where they don't have to commit to buying them new, which is much more high risk. At least if they could try them with us. If they didn't enjoy them, they could return them or exchange them. If they did, then great, fine. But they've saved a bit of money at the same time. They've got some advice from us at the same time as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And then in terms of the workshop, I mean, I'd love you to talk about the workshop and what you can do around obviously
Mhm.
custom fit, and then people, once they select a set of irons or a driver or a wedge, and you talk about some of the things that folks can get in addition to just taking the club that they've got in front of them.
Yeah, that's been a really good addition actually. So even in the early days, we had a tiny workshop really that we didn't have much space to be able to do what we could do now. But now we do everything from gripping to loft and lies to building sets of irons. We do adapter swaps. That's a big one.
Right?
Pretty much anything and everything we can do in a workshop now. So yeah, from a fitting point of view, with the express fits, where we can fit you with what we've already got in stock. So a popular one is, because there's a lot of new golfers again who are younger and then also taller. So there's a common theme that we noticed over the last few years where we needed a forgiving iron head, but maybe half an inch to an inch longer, for example, let's say, because you've got somebody coming in who's 6'5", just starting, but needs something a bit longer. So we would always struggle to keep something in stock long enough because it would just fly back out. So then from a workshop point of view, we could at least extend a set of irons that maybe we already had in stock. So if we had, okay, this iron head is perfect for you, the shaft is looking good, but we just need to add a little bit of length to it. Now there's the finer details of affecting swing weights and stuff like that, and there's that kind of finer level of detail in me that is always kind of going, well, it's maybe not quite ideal, but does that additional length trump the fact that the swing weight's going to be slightly out for you just starting in your golfing career right now, and it, 9 times out of 10, the extra length does trump it. So yeah, we do a lot of work like that in the workshop. Yeah, making slight adjustments to maybe what we've already got in stock. But then equally, we do have component accounts with a couple of the manufacturers as well. So we could order a brand new set from TaylorMade or Schuster, let's say, and build that full set of irons that maybe we've just fitted you for in our swing base. So yeah, we can pretty much do anything and everything now in the workshop, which is really nice.
Brilliant. And then in terms of some of the different clubs, so what's the sort of driver that's hot at the moment? What driver is going fast when they come in?
Uh, Driver wise, I would say that's fairly close really at the moment. Like TaylorMade is always our biggest one for the last couple of
Right?
years in particular. That's always our bestseller. Callaway is a close second. But this year is the first year we've stocked Ping, and that started actually really strongly. Um, Titleist always goes, but yeah, it's pretty close. I mean, the hot property at the moment is a high lofted fairway wood. If you came in with a 7 wood and we listed that, that would be gone in half an hour, probably no more. Like 7 woods,
Wow.
9 woods, 5 woods,
Seriously?
it's ridiculous. Yeah, it's such a yeah. That's probably one of the most popular golf clubs right now for sure.
So
It's
you've
crazy.
seen the trends that top players go through on the tour coming into the store as quick as that? That they're
Yeah,
literally,
100%.
people are watching the PGA Tour, the European Tour, and then deciding, right, I need to get a 9 wood or a 7 wood because Tommy Fleet was using one.
Yeah, honestly, and they're coming in with all sorts of different specs as well. Like we have 7 woods, 9 woods coming with velours, so you'd assume that they probably are a good player, like a single-figure golfer. So even, guys like that are trying it as well. It is crazy. They're so popular. I think right now we've got about 3 in stock, and 2 of them are ladies. So it's crazy.
And then what about irons? What are you seeing on the iron side? What kind of irons are really popular at the moment?
Iron-wise, so funny enough, we just did a YouTube video on this actually. Our best-selling iron this year was actually really surprising. It's Titleist T100, can't even remember what it was now. T100s or T150s?
Okay.
I want to say T100. So yeah, it wasn't an iron that we were expecting. So P790 from TaylorMade, that since they brought that out in 2017, and then doing it every 2 years thereafter, that's been a really popular iron. But yeah, Titleist T100, I'm pretty sure it was our best-selling iron this year. The P790 was third. So yeah, Titleist are leading the way. I mean, it's interesting in the sense of, so when I was at Wentworth in the TaylorMade Performance Lab, TaylorMade very much shouted about being the #1 driver on tour for a long time. And then that kind of, you didn't really hear that so much within, say, the last 10 years. And now I feel like we're starting to see that a bit more with Titleist. Titleist are now kind of going, we're the most used driver on tour. You're seeing that a lot more. So yeah, like when you asked there a moment ago about best-selling driver, I do wonder then if we'll see that maybe towards the latter part of this year,
Yeah.
with us potentially, because we do have a lot of GTs in stock now compared to previous years when a new release has just come out. So obviously GTS has just been released. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if we have the same conversation towards the end of the year, if that changes this year.
And then what about wedges? I guess it's dominated by Cleveland and Vokey, but what are you seeing in the wedge side as well?
Yeah, Vokeys for sure. Vokeys they've got that reputation for such a long time, haven't they? Vokeys have been the bestseller for sure. Callaway are decent. They're not too far behind with their Jaws range and the few variations they've had with Jaws. But yeah, the Vokeys lead the way in that sense. I think people just love those options of bounce and grinds and finishes, just as well as that reputation as well, I guess. It's just so hard to knock them off the pedestal, isn't it?
Yeah. And we'll wrap up in putters. I'd love to hear about putters because you've got some selection in the shop, but what are you seeing in the putter side? Because that's even more varied, I would think. Is it not?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. So Lab, that's slowly kind of dying off a little bit. Everyone kind of went crazy for Lab when they first started coming into the scene. But we get a lot of those traded. It's always interesting with us in the sense we get a lot of those traded in. So on the one hand, you could argue, well, people are not enjoying them because they're getting rid of them. But obviously, they bought them in the first place. So there's a lot of people that have bought them initially. But yeah, they are a bit like the more conversations we have with people. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are people who still love them, but I feel like there are more and more people who just, oh yeah, just I couldn't work out my distance control. I just couldn't do this and that with it. I don't know if it's just because it's such a different style compared to, say, if you've used a bladed putter with an L neck or a crank hosel for all your life, and then you go to a Lab, it's such a different style. So, but yeah, that's a separate conversation, I guess. But yeah, Lab was strong for a long period of time. Scotties, Odyssey 2 balls, Odyssey putters. We sell Odyssey DFX putters brand new at 129. They fly out.
Wow.
And then, of course, you've got the TaylorMade Spiders. They're almost as popular as the 7-woods we were talking about a moment ago. Like, they just fly out as well. What do you think? I mean, this is an interesting one as well, because we talk about this a lot. There's such a shift, or at least there's so many conversations going on about the best players using this style of putter instead of a blade, that you almost feel bad for using a blade these days because you feel like people are going, well, you shouldn't be using that. You're not good enough. Do you know what I mean?
You're not good enough, yeah. Yeah, no, it's interesting. I think for me, I've gone through a lot of putters and I've even switched from right-handed putting to left-handed putting.
Have you?
With a putter that I
Has it
bought
got
from
that
you,
bad?
funnily enough. Eh, I'm just a better putter left-handed, look, is the way I'll put it. But I think, yeah, I guess the bladed ones, it's more just when I look down, there's a lot more putter, if you want to put it that way, when you look at a mallet.
Yeah.
And I had a TaylorMade, I had the Spider, and I did like it, but I felt it was quite upright, so I felt it was pulling a lot of putts. So I went to a Scotty,
Okay.
and the Scotty's a little bit flatter. It's one of the Golo
Yeah.
ones. So yeah, I think there's a confidence thing when you look down, you see a little bit more putter. But I mean, I still love looking at an
Mm.
old Ping Anza or anything like that. I just don't use them. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
interesting how people's perceptions change and how they're. And it is a lot. I mean, putting's
Yeah.
a load of stuff around psychology when you look down at the putter. If you don't really like the way it sits or the way it looks, then it's never going to be something you want to use, right? And that's why I look at
Yeah.
a lab putter, and I tried one recently, and I thought, I don't think I could look down at this and be comfortable. It just doesn't sit well at all
Mm.
for me. I'm not saying it's a bad putter, but just for me personally, I just couldn't take to it at all.
Yeah. No, exactly. I know what you mean. I think, yeah, we would typically advise the mallet style again for your higher handicap or your beginner golfer, let's say, just with the better alignment aids and the better stability and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, even in some of those conversations, we'll still show golfers like a more bladed style. And yeah, inevitably, a lot of them do end up saying, "Well, I very much prefer the look of that." And sometimes you just have to let them go, "Well, okay, well, why don't you go with that? See what you think, and then you might quite like it, and you might quite love it, and it works well, and it's good, and it can stay in the bag. But if not, then you can default to this one because of this, this, and this." So yeah, it's an interesting one with putters. But yeah, spiders are flying out at the moment as well.
It's a great feature of the store. I mean, you've got a huge putting green considering the size of the shop. It's a brilliant area to go and try putters on, and you invariably sometimes there's a queue for folk, picking up putters and having a little go. But I think it's a brilliant environment to actually
Yeah,
get an opportunity to try a putter, because quite often people are just going online and buying one, or you're in a shop and you like the little putt you've got, it's like 6 feet, and it's like
yeah,
it's not really giving you a full reflection of how it's going to be on the course. Of course, I
yeah,
think your area's maybe 20 foot long. I think
yeah,
that's a really good distance to have a feel for whether you're truly getting the putter the ball online. So I think
mm,
it's a brilliant setup you've got there.
yeah. There's a few different targets on there as well, so you can kind of go, yeah, test it in a few different ways. Um, yeah, like I say, it's nice to just have a nicer environment to use it. Yeah.
Brilliant. So look, in terms of the go forward for Replay Golf, what have you guys got planned for the future?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it's tough. We very much want to get this one as efficient and as good as we can. Whether or not there'll be plans to pick it up and then move it somewhere else would be it's always a possibility, right? Like if we can see how well we can do here with everything considered and like everything behind the scenes and stuff like that, um, then I think yeah, that could definitely be a possibility. We very much wanted to be your one stop, or very much want to be your one stop shop for everything. Um, so aside from, I mean, a few of the other retailers take the mick out of us here on. So we're based on Lavershot Barnes here in Windlesham, and from where we started, we're gradually taking over more and more of the site essentially. So they keep basically saying that we're going to be owning the site eventually. I mean, that'd be nice one day. That'd be incredible. Um, but if there was any more space here, then that could always be useful. For all sorts. So I'm being very vague, but I guess we're always a company that say never, right? So we're always open to kind of how best we might navigate through to the finish line, if you like, if there is a finish line, even. We'll leave it as
Brilliant.
that.
So if people want to get in touch, look, whether in the area or through online or the website or anything, how do folk get in touch? What's the contact details for you on Instagram and the website?
Yeah, lovely. So yeah, we're on Instagram. We've just started a YouTube channel now. Um, we're on TikTok as well. Otherwise, we've got our landline. Contact us by email. So we're not too far from the M3. So yeah, by all means, come down and visit us for sure.
Well, listen, thanks so much for coming on, Luke. It's been great to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Ross. Yeah, it's been great.
No problem. Cheers.
Cheers, Ross.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Link by Golf with Luke Peterkin from Replay Golf. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe, switch on automatic downloads wherever you're listening, and if you know someone who loves the game, please share the show with them. You can find the show on Instagram at Link by Golf Podcasts for future episodes, clips and insights. I'm Ross McGuire, thanks for listening.
Lomond Golf Tours have helped thousands of guests build bespoke golf trips to create a magical experience. Travel in style with our executive chauffeur travel, whether it's golf on a major championship venue or one of our hidden gems, 5-star accommodation or a boutique bed and breakfast, or is it whiskey tasting on a private boat? Lomond Golf Tours are here to help build the tour of a lifetime. Whether you're celebrating a special occasion or ticking it off your bucket list, embark on a trip that you'll remember forever. Visit www.lomondgolftours.com.